What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. As a basketball fan, it was incredibly fun to get to watch Ja Morant play again tonight. It's funny, I got into the doghouse this summer because I said we were doing player rankings, I think. And I had Jalen Brunson over Ja Morant. And everyone hyper-focused on it as being some sort of negative Ja Morant take, which is not the case. It's just Jalen Brunson is one of my favorite players in the league, and he's awesome at basketball. Just had 50 the other night. He's been averaging 28 for like a month. He's been one of the most efficient scorers in the league over that span. Like Jalen Brunson, he just kicked the Lakers' ass last night. Like Jalen Brunson's incredible, right? Tyrese Halliburton's incredible. I saw that quote from the press conference where the person in the stands directly asked Ja Morant about these player comparisons. And like sometimes I just want to be like, hey, Anthony Edwards, awesome. Tyrese Halliburton, awesome. Ja Morant, awesome. Jalen Brunson, awesome. All of them are awesome. And like it's all just a matter of personal preference, right? But I have zero ill will towards Ja Morant. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the league. And what you saw tonight was what happens when you have a guy with a superpower and how that can make the game of basketball so much easier. Ja Morant's superpower is that he's so damn fast, he makes the NBA's fast guys look not fast. That's his superpower. And we're going to talk about his scoring in a minute, but it was his passing in particular that I thought demonstrated this concept so well tonight. There was a pass that he had in the first half, a transition push, where he was working his way down the floor with a ton of pace. Zion Williams just cuts out of the left side corner, kind of hangs out right underneath the rim, and Ja hits him underneath the basket. If you watch that possession, every single Pelican is mesmerized by Ja Morant as he's driving in transition, because that's what happens. You know how we as basketball fans are watching Ja in transition and we're like, holy shit, he's moving. Dudes on the court are saying the same thing. There was a ball screen with, it was a staggered pick and roll with Zaire setting the first pick and then Jaren Jackson setting the second pick. It's on the right wing, it was in the first half. And Trey Murphy ends up jumping the first ball screen and hedging really hard on Ja. And as a result of that, Ja had to split, and so he does. When Jaren Jackson recognizes that Ja is not going to use the second pick because he splits, he immediately slips to the rim. But this whole thing happens so fast. Ja goes off the pick, splits, and then just funnels up a left-handed scoop lob to Jaren Jackson, who dunks it at the basket. Jonas Valanciunas is in like kind of a drop coverage in this situation. The whole thing happens so fast. Not only does Jonas Valanciunas not get a hand up, not only does he not jump, he doesn't even get a hand up. He's stuck in the mud. He's like, he just turns around and suddenly Jaren Jackson's on the rim because of how quickly, like that's a read that we see a lot. Like, oh, it's a hedge. You split the hedge. You got to engage the drop coverage defender. Then you throw that lob to the vertical spacer. It's a play we see a lot in the NBA. But it never looks like that because no one ever does it that fast. And again, like we talk so much about all these different skill set things, but like that individual athletic superpower is one of the most warping things that an individual player can do for a basketball team. And he's always just been a gifted passer in general. Now, the Pelicans are generally a hard help team, but consistently, Ja Morant tonight was reading the low man really well. Hit multiple threes in the weak side corner with skip passes. It's just, he is going to make offense so much easier for this Grizzly team. We're going to talk a lot about, or we're going to talk a little late in this show about what they have lying in front of them as a challenge. But there's no doubt that it's just going to be a lot easier for this team with Ja Morant on the court. All I want for the holidays this year is some NBA action. This week, new customers can score $150 instantly in bonus bets just for betting $5. An instant dub just for you guys. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code HOOPS. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on basketball. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code HOOPS. The crown is yours. Then down the stretch, Ja gets 3 straight buckets in the final minute and a half. Starts with an ISO of Herb Jones out of the right corner. Herb is kind of opened up a little bit, and Ja just drives right behind to the left and goes to that little left-handed push shot in the lane. Then, very next possession. Now, this is something that we saw. Do you guys remember the spinning and one that Ja Morant had in the third quarter? This is a concept that is another thing that's related to speed. Ja comes off the pick. Jonas is in a drop. It's kind of like a high drop, right? Like the Pelicans usually bring Jonas as high as they can into the ball screen, and then they're a big backside help team. That's just kind of the way that they kind of deal with Jonas's limitations in pick and roll coverage, right? But once again, Ja's so damn fast, Jonas can't get up to the level of the screen in time, right? Or not even the level, but like he usually was going up just shy of the level. But instead, he's too far back. Ja has him on his heels, hits him with a spin move, and gets an and one, right? This was in the third quarter. So one of the things they did on this second to final possession is they just had Jonas hard hedge on that right side to just try to stop him from using the screen entirely. Now, one of the reasons that teams use hard hedges is because it flattens out a drive. If you can get out on top of the screen, and so instead of him getting downhill on the screen, he has to take a negative step to curl back further away from the basket to evade the hedge, that gives him time to recover and your on-ball defender a chance to get back to the ball. That's why teams do a hard hedge. Here's the problem. Ja's too damn fast for Herb Jones, crossed over left to right instead. So when Jonas was waiting for him on the right side of the pick for on the left side of the pick for the hedge, Ja's going right, and now there's no weak side help. And Zion was late coming out of the corner. He tried to block him and had no chance, and Ja lays it in. And then down the stretch, the final possession, the game winner, it's a 1-4 low. Just clear the entire top of the floor for him. Just hits Herb Jones with the hard dribble move and a spin, and then that like in between shot for Ja that he has that kind of is his before the rim shot is that little floater. He hit a big one on Brandon Ingram late in the game as well. That floater is just really, really difficult to guard because you're trying to prep to meet him somewhere at the rim, and he just pops up off the floor, gets great balance. He's going straight up and down, and he makes that shot at a really high clip. It ends up being the game winner. Now, again, like we can talk about the Pelicans and why the hell they just kept letting Ja go one-on-one. That's a story for a different day. But like just from a sheer standpoint of athletic gifts, think of it like this. Herb Jones is one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. Have you guys ever heard of the concept like defending on your heels? You know, I one of the things that I noticed, and we're going to talk Lakers on probably Thursday is my guess. But in the Knicks game last night, if you guys who follow me on Twitter and saw the film thread that I did this morning, I kind of broke down the differences for Rui Hachimura when he would try to actually hold his ground and meet Julius Randle with force, and how that forced Julius into tough fadeaways versus when he opened up and gave an angle and Julius was getting easy floaters and shots close to the rim. And the difference between those two types of defensive strategy, or shouldn't say strategy, just in terms of execution, right? Well, that's the way perimeter defense works. The on-ball guy is trying to make a move towards me. I'm trying to beat him to his spot, right? If I beat him to his spot, I want to hold my ground. And if I hold my ground, I'm going to take that contact in the chest and I'm going to shut down that driving lane, right? But what can happen is when you're out of position, if you try to hold that ground and he kind of clips the side of your shoulder instead of like centered in your chest, now it's a blocking foul. Now he might get continuation and get all the way to the rim. It's the simple concept of being in defensive position versus being out of position, right? But when you're on your heels, when a guy is truly fast to the point where you don't even feel like there's an opportunity to hold your ground, you're constantly taking negative steps and opening your shoulder to try to recover to a further back spot, then you're never actually causing the on-ball player to stop his forward momentum. Watch those Ja Morant drives on Herb Jones down the stretch of that game. Herb is on his heels. He's backpedaling. He's opening his shoulders. Never once did he actually try to cut Ja Morant off because he's out of position because Ja's way too damn fast for him. And that's the superpower. There are superpowers, and then there are superpowers where even the dude on the other team that has the same type of superpower can't handle it. When your best perimeter defenders can't do anything with him like that, it just puts your defense in a huge predicament. Now you're going to have to just double team him and pray someone else misses a shot, right? Which the Pels didn't do. And, that's their prerogative. But honestly, just this is all I'm going to say about it. As a basketball fan, I had so much fun watching Ja Morant tonight. I'm so glad he's back playing basketball. The Grizzlies are in a tough spot. They're 7 games out of the 10 spot with 56 games left. And they have a lot of issues that extend beyond Ja. It's possible, but it's going to be really, really tough. But what's great about it is you've got one of those guys. Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Ja Morant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. All 4 of these young guards are like bona fide superstars, in my opinion, in the making. Either there or in the making. And like you've got one of those guys. We talk a lot about this on this show, the idea of like, you got to have, step 1 is get the guy. Once you get the guy, you categorize his strengths and weaknesses and you build a roster around him. If you don't have the guy, what are you doing? Right? We've talked about this with a bunch of the other teams around the league. Talked about this with Chicago, right? Like everything needs to be geared around getting the guy. And tonight was just another great reminder that Ja is the guy. Now, this season, when you get to the deadline, if you're within striking distance to get to the play-in, great. But if you get to the deadline and you're not, then this is a great season for you to do what you can do to shape things the way they need to be shaped for you to make a run next season.